Okay, we're going to do this one through, no edits, and I'm actually going to use a Modbus slave simulator because I don't have a micro 800 series PLC with me at the moment. So let's get started. We're going to run the installer. I'm using the demo installer for this example. Here's the icon that was made. So we'll launch it. Peak HMI projects are a directory with all of the files inside of the directory. So here's the project. We need to log on. Until you set up users, the default's the director. So the first thing is we'll set the Modbus master port up. Call it port 1. We need to change the IP address. 200.129. We'll make the reads a little faster, but we can test the connection to see if. Okay, good. We got a connection. So now we'll set up a single read. This test is just for one register. It could be, you could set this up to like 125 if I remember right. Okay, so let's test it. It's 25. Let's change that value in the simulator to. Okay, good. And we see reads are incrementing. So that's the Modbus port. Save the project. Let's go ahead and set up a point. This point is going to be called analog, or just call it test point 1. And we'll give it an address. Make it read write just for giggles. And we want to do some alarming, do a high alarm and a low alarm. And we'll set that to 75 and that to 25. The deadband is 3% if I remember right, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll do auto clear just to make it easier so we don't have to push an acknowledge button. And we want to send an SMS message whenever the alarm condition becomes true. Okay, that all looks good. Now let's check, make sure alarm group 1. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and set up the SMS while I'm thinking about it. And the AT&T service number 312149810. You'll have to set this up for whatever the cell phone that you're using or modem that you're using, provider, what their number is, and set up the COM port and all that kind of stuff. And we'll set up a user, and we'll call him on call, and he has to have a phone number to send the message to, and what days and what times, what alarm groups, all these different settings. So that's the user. So what will happen is when the alarm goes high or low for that point, you'll be sent a message, and you can change the format of the message to whatever you want. Okay. Let's set up the ODBC port, the logger port, and we'll call it logger 1. And the default is for Excel, but we're using MySQL. I do remember the table name is logging. So we can go to the help file, and these are the connection parameters, and that's what we need to change. So we need to change it for, where is it? There we go, MySQL. And there are Okay. And I know the IP address is 200.128. And the HMI user is HMI, remote is correct, and the database is HMI. But this driver is not right. This is XP. We're using XP because of that's where the video software is. But you can find out in Administrative Tools, Data Source, Driver 3.51. 3.51. Okay. And then we can test the connection, and there we go. So there's the log time, and these are field names, log time and analog 1. And this is what's already in the table from earlier testing. Make sure it was all set up. So we'll set up the field name of log time, and the source we're going to use a date time, and if you don't put anything in, it just uses whatever the system's configured for. And then analog is the field name, and I'm right clicking and we'll select the point. So process variable analog, and we set it to 1000. So once a second it's going to log whatever the value is of test point 1, giving it a timestamp into the MySQL table logging. Okay, let's go to graphics, and we'll create a new screen. We'll call it main. And the first thing we'll do is we'll just put down some text. This is just a placeholder, so it doesn't really matter what it is. And we'll make it larger. Now we're going to set up an animation for a text reading, which means it just gets the value from the point and shows it. So text reading, source, test point 1, process variable analog. We don't want to show any decimals. You can change it based on values. We'll select NA so it'll stop when it gets right to this point. We've selected the point and what attribute, and it'll. Okay, so we also, though, we want to set up a brush so it'll change color. So we set up the same point, same attribute, and now we say if it's greater than 75, we want it to be red, and if it's less than 25, we want it to be yellow, and if it's anything else, we want it to be green. So if it's above, if it's 50, for example, it won't hit here, but it will hit here because then it stops and says, okay, make it green. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and set some window settings while we're here. Let's set the center only 1, and let's set the background color to a gray. Okay, I'm going to set the background color to this too. Gray also. I right clicked on that, which set the brush over here, or you can click here and set it. Okay, let's put some more text down, and we'll call this one high alarm. We'll make it red, and I right clicked on that one. Foreground color, or you can click over here to select it. For this one, we're just going to do a hide show on alarm. So we select the point, and we want to select alarm high active. And I think we want to invert it because if I remember right, true hides. I could be wrong. I don't do this enough, but we'll come back if it's wrong. Okay, we also want to set one for low alarm. And right click, low, set yellow. But for this one we need to set alarm low active. Okay. So that's for that, but I need to go and set up a data logger point. We set up the point, but now we want to tell it to log this value to the internal database once a second. Now we can go back into graphics. I'm going to set up a trend, which is under the gauge complex objects, and I'm going to select trend, and I'm going to change the background color. I just right clicked. Trends can be either native or ODBC, and since we told it to log to internal database via the data logger, we're going to use it. So we select help, trend, and then we select the tag that we want, and we tell it to select it as say red so we can see it easier. Gotta enable it. Okay, we can also, just for giggles, let's set up an alarm panel. And its alarm panel's right here. Alarm panel has a bunch of settings. You can set whatever you want. We'll just have time values in the condition. Okay. Let's go into settings and set the user to automatically log on director and to open the main screen. There's a whole bunch of other settings in here you can look at. See if we got everything. I think we got everything. Let's start monitoring and see what happens. Okay, there's our value, and we can actually verify that by looking at the point. It is 33. The trend is trending. See a little trend there. Got no alarms. So let's change the value to 70. No, let's change it to 80. There's the high alarm. There's the trend value going up. There's the high condition. And if we look at the logger port, we can see the time. So it's updating. There's the value. So let's go ahead and change the value to 24 or 23. As you see, the value changed to 23. I had to scroll down. It doesn't automatically scroll. You see that it's updating. And we see that the high alarm is gone, the lower alarm is visible, the trend went down, and the value is shown condition high. I think it's because we need to go through, I think it has to be configured. I think we have to go through no alarm, and then there's the low condition. No, I think it's a configuration thing. I don't remember. You have to look in the help file. But if we look at the event log, we'll see that the SMS is missing because I don't have a phone hooked up or a modem, so it couldn't connect to the call center to send out messages. It would have, but I just don't have a phone set up. Anyway, I think that covers what we were trying to accomplish. Okay.